Hello and welcome to the YYC Soccer Podcast. My name is Jason Komet and my co-host is Scott Strasser. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Jason. How's it going? It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. It's been a few weeks here. Feels good to get back into the pod cave.
Yeah, it's been a solid 3 weeks since our last time recording. We have run episodes the last 2 weeks, but they were both pre-recorded. You've recently been traveling, so we knew that we wouldn't be able to record the way we have been for the last 2 weeks, and I had some pretty big news on my front.
I was on vacation in Thailand, and yeah, that was a pretty memorable trip, but your last couple of weeks have probably been even more memorable. Congratulations there on the arrival of your new daughter.
Thank you. Yeah, this is my wife and my second. Our son was born in 2023, and yeah, on March 24th, our daughter was born, Isla. So pretty exciting for us, and we've been kicking back at home a lot since then. Not back at work quite yet, but that's coming soon. And yeah, I'm excited to resume normalcy a little bit with the new face. But no, it's been good. Pretty exciting for us.
Good. No, that's excellent. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to getting back into it. I could talk about Thai soccer for quite a while right now, but I don't think anyone would care. So I did not make it to a match, though, unfortunately. But anyway, like I said, I think no one's going to be too terribly interested in that. They probably will be interested in what we usually talk about. And Scott, what do we talk about on our podcast?
As the name suggests, the YYC Soccer Podcast covers all levels of soccer in Calgary. We talk a lot about Cavalry FC and the Calgary Wild, who are the city's two professional soccer teams, but we also talk about lower level teams and players, all things related to the city's soccer community, from grassroots and amateur up to the post-secondary and professional levels.
This week, our topics are going to include Cavalry FC. They played their first match of the season. We'll do a bit of a review on that, and we'll talk about their home opener this weekend. The Calgary Wild are in the UK right now, playing some friendlies and training. The Canadian Futsal Championships are happening over at Seven Chiefs this weekend. And we have an interview this week. Scott, who's our interview with?
Yeah, as we've done for the last, I think, 2 or 3 years, we managed to interview Cavalry head coach Tommy Wheeldon Jr., talk about the first game of the season, as well as the recent preseason training camp and the home opener this weekend.
So before we get to our interview, let's dive into Cavalry FC's first match of the season that was played last weekend, and we'll do a review of that.
This is Tommy Wheeldon Jr., and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right, Scott, first match of the season for Cavalry FC this past weekend. They were on Vancouver Island. Looks like Pacific FC paid the rent, and they were able to play that match Sunday afternoon. And for the first time, was it ever?
Yes.
Cavalry won a match in April.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but dating all the way back to the 2019 season, Cavalry had never won a competitive game in April. It's a stat that's kind of a puzzler, but if you think about the fact that they don't play that many games in April typically, but it's always been indicative of how Cavalry tends to start the season slow, right? Like they take a while to find their bearings, and hopefully this 2-1 win on the weekend against Pacific is a harbinger of a starting strong right out the gate. It was a little bit of a touch and go performance, I thought, but a result that they're going to be really pleased with, especially considering that on neither of their trips to Langford in 2025 did they pick up full points.
It was probably a little closer than I was expecting at the end, but really, they got the 3 points, and they got that monkey off their back in regards to getting 3 points in April. So I think overall, pretty good result. Why don't we run over what happened in that match? There were the 3 goals. I think the first goal, well, all the goals were interesting, but first goal was interesting and historic, I guess, really, when it comes right down to it.
Yeah, it was just a simple Tobias Warshevsky penalty kick, but what made it historic was that the penalty was earned after Tommy Wheeldon Jr. had, how do you even say this? He requested a review, because there's this new video review system in the Canadian Premier League that I guess, I don't know if you'd say it's being piloted, but it's been introduced, and it gives coaches an opportunity to challenge significant referee decisions that can alter the outcome of the game. And yeah, this was, I can't remember on the play who was fouled. Was it Jay Herdman? He was fouled in the box, but that wasn't what was called. But then Tommy challenged it, and the referee watched it back and decided to give Cavalry the penalty. And Tobias Borszewski, as he's done so many times before, stepped up and slotted it home.
Yeah, like it was a real reversal, right? Because on that play, Herdman was called for the foul. And, watching the match, I was like, what? How was Herdman in the wrong on that play? And I had the thought, if anything, it was the other way around, but that's not how it was called initially. And then Tommy used the challenge and not only was it not a Herdman foul, it was a foul going the other way, which I think was the right call. So it really changed the match, completely. So, and in my opinion, that would have been kind of a real blown call. And we would be talking about how Cavalry was denied a penalty that they should have gotten, but they got it as a result. So I'd say from that perspective, it seemed to work quite well.
But what I think a lot of CPL fans are talking about at the moment is how long it took the referees to come to that decision. And that was the same case in the Forge versus Ottawa game, which, Jason, I actually watched a decent chunk of the day before on the Saturday. And there was a similar challenge, and it took a ridiculous amount of time before the ref finally agreed to give the penalty to Forge, and Brian Wright made no mistake. But they really need to, I think, quicken the pace with how they make these decisions. But it is kind of interesting. It's a bit different than the VAR that I think a lot of soccer fans have gotten used to in the last 5 or 6 years.
It was the first week, right? So I think it's pretty reasonable to think that it's going to need a bit of fine-tuning and adjustment. But yeah, the delays, I think, they kind of suck the life out of things a little bit. Now, I guess we're going to find this out soon enough, but I think sitting in the stadium waiting for all that would be painful. But, when you're watching on TV, it's actually not too bad, because I love how the referees are mic'd up and you can listen to their thought process. So from a watching it on TV point of view, it's okay. But I think sitting in the stands would be, not quite as good.
Yeah, it might be an opportunity to go get another beer or go to the bathroom or something. But I agree. It was kind of cool to listen to the referees deliberate in real time.
Yeah, and then the second goal for Cavalry happened just after the second half started, and a newcomer opened his account with the Cavs in rather impressive fashion.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned his name yet, but honestly, he was the headline maker. Player of the match performance from Harry Payton in the center of the park in midfield. And this was a great goal from him, a short corner taken by Lee Borszewski, and Payton took a great touch into the box to set himself up and then rifled a shot near post past Sean Melvin to put Cavalry up 2-0. Really well taken and kind of the icing on the cake of a really strong performance from him. He looked very assured in that role that used to be occupied by Shamit Shom.
Yeah, and really seemed to be very offensive threatening. Shamit Shom had a lot of good qualities, but sort of that level of offensive dangerousness that Payton was showing, that's something new in that position, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, I think Cavalry have gotten a gem of a player. Lots of experience having played in Scottish Premiership. So I think he's going to be a real asset. No, really great game from him. And it looked like Cavalry was going to run away with it when they were up 2-0. But of course, Pacific did bring one back in the 72nd minute off of a set play to spoil Nate Ingham's chance of getting a clean sheet in his debut for Cavalry.
Yeah, so they ended up 2-1 and 3 points. Overall, Pacific looked pretty bad for most of the game.
They didn't look like they've improved that much from last year, but I do think, getting Ronan Kratt back is going to be good for them if he can stay fit.
One other thing about that match I wanted to briefly talk about, at least, is the new kit. What do you think of the Badlands kit?
I don't think I like it, but that's very easy to say after only seeing it once. But overall, I thought it looked kind of baggy, and the sleeves were pretty long and pretty, minor gripes with it. But overall, I prefer the home kit, and I thought this was a little bit of a miss. And the Badlands connection, I thought, was kind of tenuous at best.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of think that I like it, the fact it's a bit different. But I think the primary kit, I think, is still my favorite. But sometimes I think with these second kits, why not go on a limb, see what happens and stuff. But before we talk about the home opener, since we last recorded and talked about news, and there have been a few new players signed for Cavalry, and maybe we should just briefly talk about those players.
Well, I think the one I'd like to highlight is Adam Perlman, right? He has come on loan from Toronto FC and adds yet another, I think, attack-minded defensive option on the wing for Cavalry. He's kind of like a wing back, I would call him.
Well, last year when he played for Halifax, he basically played center back. He did not play much right back. He can play right back, and he did play right back in this match. But, when he was with the Wanderers, he pretty much mostly played center back. So I'm kind of presuming right now that part of the attraction and the appeal of going out on loan, besides getting minutes, obviously, is this is going to be an opportunity for him to kind of learn this new position. And, never hurts to be versatile, right?
I've heard nothing but good things from him. Even just social media and Reddit, stuff like that. It seems like he was really well liked at Halifax.
And the Cavs re-signed a couple of U Sports players, Max Peepgrass and Owen Antoniuk. I guess that's no big surprise. I think both of them were kind of expected to sign, but only 2 U Sports signings. Still room to add one more, so we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I actually asked in the pre-game press conference, I asked Tommy Wheeldon Jr. about this just because press conference was kind of going by pretty quick and not a lot of questions were getting thrown his way. And so I just said, why them? And he said, well, we know them and they're local lads. They're both from Calgary and know what it means to play for Cavalry. So we like how they've developed in the last year. Max Peepgrass out on the East Coast with Cape Breton, and Owen Antoniuk had another strong year in U Sports with the Dinos. So very, very unsurprised to see them both back. And we saw Max Peepgrass get subbed in on the weekend. So, Jason, Cavalry's home opener will be this Sunday, 2 p.m. at Spruce Meadows, taking on Atlético Ottawa, a rematch of the 2025 final. Hopefully, there will be less snow this time. But
don't count on it.
Yeah, well, based on how today went, we'll see, right? But overall, an intriguing prospect facing the champ so soon. I did, as mentioned, watch a decent chunk of the Forge Ottawa game on the weekend. And, Atletico, they've lost some big players. And I don't know how the club feels about losing icons like Amir Didic and Nate Ingham, but they're going to be playing against them very soon.
Yeah, I think that team is going to look, really quite different. And yeah, it'll be interesting, I guess, to see. I'm working on the basis that they're going to find some players, but can they get it all to mesh together this quickly in the season? I think that might be a problem for them, but definitely interesting match from a Cavalry point of view. It's even though it's a new season and the stakes aren't quite as high, I'm sure it would feel pretty good to win this weekend after losing out in the final.
Yeah, and that'd be a great way to start the season with 6 points from 2 games. I can't remember the last time Cavalry managed to do that. Might have been 2019.
All right. Well, I think now is probably a good time to run our interview with Tommy Wheeldon Jr. Let's hear what he has to say about preseason training, first match, and the home opener.
I'd like to welcome Tommy Wheeldon Jr. to our podcast. Most listeners are probably already aware, but Tommy is the head coach of Cavalry FC, and he's been on our podcast 2 or 3 times. Tommy, welcome back to the podcast.
As always, thanks for having me on. It's nice to have a local podcast, trying to do the right things and spread the word of the football in our community. So always happy to be a guest on your show.
Well, we appreciate you coming back. We want to ask you about the game that just happened on the weekend, as well as the game that's coming up, the 2026 home opener, as well as we have some questions about preseason and some of the new additions to the squad. So let's start with the 2-1 win over Pacific. Great result to kick off the campaign. First time Cavalry has won a CPL match in April. What pleased you about that performance, and what were your initial thoughts afterward?
I think exactly what you just said. The first time we'd won in April, it was becoming a weird statistic. So I'm like, well, let's go out there and do what we've been practicing on. We've had a longer preseason, and I felt we executed the game plan very well. I thought it was a game that should have maybe been 3 or 4-0 with chances created. When you don't score that third one, I think you invite the team on a little bit, and that's exactly what happened. And they got their goal and gambled near the end. But I thought we managed the game well. made the subs we needed to make, and it was a good win. So happy to do it. And then the other stat I'd heard is I think Pacific, every home opener they've won, 5 out of 7. The other 2 were in the bubble. So it was nice to do that because we know that they start the season strong. But as for us, 3 points on the road is a great way to begin the 2026 campaign.
Mm-hmm. And there were a lot of new faces, right? I think 6 debutants and goal for Harry Payton, and a very strong performance from him. Yeah, can you talk about some of the newcomers and what you hope that they'll bring to the club this year?
Yeah, listen, they're very good, and it's always tough, to say goodbye to some guys that have played with you a long time. Shamit Shomes and Fraser Air played over 100 and odd games, and just ran into him today actually, and it's glad he's still in the community and playing and coaching, and these are guys that have ran their socks off for you and done a lot of things for the club. But we also knew we were at the end of a cycle. We got to 3 finals in 3 years. We lifted a couple of trophies. But we also have to be able to evolve while we're near the top of the tree versus fall all the way down and then have to rebuild. We've reloaded. We've added incredible experience with Nate Ingham and Didic that know the league. They've won in this league. And I think they can come in and really shore up our defensive stability, because I felt we conceded a few too many last year unnecessarily. And then we've added more dynamism to our attack, whether it be through Nate Edwards coming in, Harry Payton, as you've seen, he's a goal scoring midfielder. And then, Curtis Afori's, Adam Perlman's. These guys are dynamic, they're young, they're hungry. And it's just the start of a next cycle. So that's what we're building towards. And it was brilliant in a game like that to start 4 and then bring 2 more in. So they felt part of the victory, because now it is a slightly new look of a team, but we have a lot of the similar principles.
Right. I wanted to ask about Adam Perlman, because it seemed like he was sliding in at right wing back, wasn't he?
Yeah, so I'd call him a hybrid player, because he's one that can play right back, right centre back, right wing back. I think he can obviously do the same on the left side, but he is more dominant with his right foot. I've seen it with him when he played at Halifax. He started low under Patrice, and then he became a wing back when they switched to a 3-4-3 system. I watched a bit of his games when he returned back in preseason with TFC, and credit to Tofel Fakunli, did a lot of work when we're identifying a player that could come in and give us something different. Also gives us under 21 minutes. So it was a strategic signing.
Okay, all right. I wanted to ask about preseason. You guys went to Guadalajara not too long ago, had some games against Mexican opposition. Saw that Jay Herdman scored a couple of goals down in Mexico. Wanted to ask how you feel he's gotten off in his return to Cavalry. How do you feel he's fared, and how do you feel he looked against Pacific the other day?
Yeah, Jay's a cracker. He wasn't getting the minutes after CONCACAF last year that he wanted. He had issued, he wanted to get in and get playing again. And, so we ended up finding a loan for him, which also opened up the cap space to bring in Gote. So strategic for both parties. Vancouver took him on. Unfortunately, he didn't get as many minutes as he'd like because he got a setback with his groin. But no, he's come back fit. He's come back hungry. He looks the player we signed, because if you remember prior to the send off and also in the final in 2024, he was brilliant. And I think he's a very functional player. He gives you everything he's got, but he also, look, even on the weekend, had it not been for his shot and follow in, we wouldn't maybe got the penalty. And also he was part of the clever corner kick that Jay Wheeldon designed that allowed Harry Payton to attack the space. So he had a lot of tactical responsibilities for us.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you brought up the penalty, because that was next on my list, is how that penalty was earned, and Warshevsky's, he obviously scored it, as we've seen before. But yeah, that was a little bit of history in the CPL in terms of this new challenge system. What do you think about this? And how, yeah, I mean, you obviously got the first one, but I mean, do you think that this is going to be a big factor this season?
It's going to be a massive factor this season. All goals are going to be checked regardless. I think before the play commences. So I guess that, causes a bit of a delay in the game for supporters, but I guess they're trying to do, almost like this VAR light that, fans are asking for it. It's come in. Now you've got it. Goal line technology. You've got everything you can now, but it's still always going to come down to human beings deciding whether it's right, wrong, or otherwise. I think with this one, you almost got a bit of more of a relationship with the fourth official than actually complaining at the fourth official. That was the biggest thing I noticed. And by all accounts, I think the viewers at home can hear some of the dialogue going by from the officials. And I think I look at rugby, and rugby has always done that and spoke about, their foul and this, and fans can hear it. To even you look at the NFL when there's challenges. So there's going to be a merit to it. And I think if it comes across quite well in our season, it'll kick on for the rest of the world. But one game in, obviously I'm going to be happy because our one got called for us, and it did end up deciding the game. But it's got room to grow.
Another change for this season in the CPL is the new offside rule that's being piloted, the daylight rule as it's kind of been called. I was curious if you guys played with this in effect in preseason in Mexico, or if it's brand new coming into the CPL campaign.
Yeah, we couldn't, because the issue is it's always, again, unless you have the camera footage to be able to do it, you're relying upon the officials, and because we're in Mexico, they're not playing with it, so they just play the offside as it is and not the daylight rule. It's going to be one where we're going to have to grow and learn as the season goes on, because it's hard to practice without all those factors.
So we got another game coming up this weekend, home opener against Atlético Ottawa, rematch of last year's final. Hopefully there will be less snow this time, but I mean, how do you feel coming into the home opener at Spruce Meadows?
Looking forward to it. Yeah, ever since we finished our last game there, it was, still one of those, like, how did that happen type of games, with the weather. And it was just a weird day. So it doesn't even feel like the final actually took place, unfortunately, because of the manner in which it did. So the opportunity to play them now, I think there's extra spice. Them winning a trophy, us taking Ingham and Diddich from them. I think it just serves to have another great rivalry. We seem to be rivaling more clubs than anybody when you listen to some of their other managers. But yes, so be it. I'm looking forward to it.
Just a couple more questions for me, Tommy. Next one is about challenges you expect this year, and opportunities, goals for the club. I mean, what do you make of it?
Yeah, look, I mean, it started off well. Like, I look at, even for myself being brought into the Canada national team group for the camp in January, gave me a spark to see what Jesse and his staff are doing. Then the trickle effect, you see in the Arab and Pepples getting called into the camp. It shows that what we're building is what we've always tried to build and create opportunities. So we're creating opportunities for these current set of players, and it'll be the same moving forward for, players that do depart from us. Is it's part of the Canadian ecosystem. The World Cup coming here as well excites me, but I think the group that we've actually put together is one of the most exciting groups we've had, and very, very well balanced. So I think we can beat teams in different ways, and I'm looking forward to seeing that unfold.
Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if you remember this quote, Tommy, but when Macron Center opened in 2017, you said something along the lines of, the goal is that a player comes through here that plays at the 2026 World Cup for Canada, if that tournament comes here. I mean, do you think that could come to fruition? I mean, I could see a couple of players who kind of did come through Macron Center who could potentially get called up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Joel Waterman being one of them, right? Yeah. He was part of that 2018 group that used to train there and obviously played for Foothills in that PDL Championship side. Obviously Arab and Pepple. I mean, Victor Latour's probably on the outskirts looking in. But that's what it's all about. White people, and especially what Foothills did here, and the ownership group behind there invested in, the Macron Center, to what, the Southern family have done to invest in, the facilities at Spruce Meadows and the team for Canadians. Linda was an Olympian herself in equestrian, so it's fantastic that we've got that opportunity to keep pushing. So I'm hoping that we have more to come.
Last thing I'll ask you, Tommy, is simply a message for the fans. I think we're entering year 8 of Cavalry FC. What do you want fans to know?
I've actually seen a few of them, because there's been camps here at the Macron Center either side with the spring break, and some of the fans have spoke about, leading up to the game, to the ones this week are talking about how exciting this group is. To even after the game, I had a Cavalry fan shouting to me that there was a big party at Kildare's. There's a lot of passion that's going on, and I think they can see that we are more dynamic this year. Getting to another final was great, but we didn't lift anything. We want to try and get back to that again. We love that feeling of touching the silverware and tasting the champagne. So that's what we'll be chasing this year. And hopefully our fans can enjoy the journey with us, because without them, we're nothing.
Thanks again, Tommy. Appreciate the time today, and best of luck this weekend against Atlético.
Hi, Hi, this is Taegan Stewart. You're listening to YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right, let's talk about the Calgary Wild. They've been in the UK, I think mostly in England, I guess. They've been doing a preseason tour. They've been training and had a couple friendly matches. They've played a couple teams from England's second division in friendlies over the last week or so.
Yeah, they played against Southampton and Portsmouth.
I guess we don't have tons of details. I know they've been putting stuff on their social media, on Instagram and stuff, various things they're doing there, but probably a good opportunity for them to do some team bonding and get some quality friendly matches because let's face it, when you're based in Calgary, it's probably not the easiest to get high quality friendlies at this time of year, especially. So it makes a lot of sense to go over there and they'll be back soon enough, I guess.
Yeah, their season is kicking off in, I think, just under 3 weeks. So surely they'll be back soon. I think a lot of their players, they'll be match fit right from the get-go if you consider how many have been on international duty in recent weeks.
Yeah, it seems like there's been so many and there's more. The international window just seemed like it closed and it's opening up again. So more matches coming up for a bunch of Wild players. We could probably run through the list. The one we should talk about first is actually not a call-up to a senior team, but a call-up to a youth team.
Yeah, you highlighted this in a text message earlier today, Jason. Taegan Stewart been called up to the Canada U20 team for their matches with Costa Rica, April 13th and 16th. So just about a week from now. She's been playing with the Welsh U20 team alongside her twin sister, Keelan, for the last couple of years. So interesting to see this call up. And you and I were wondering what this could mean if she ends up changing her allegiance to the country she grew up in rather than the country of her parents' birth.
What I'm getting right now from a bit of the research that I've done is that this is not a permanent decision to switch or anything like that. Canada's calling up something like 30 players. So they're casting a bit of a wide net here and just to sort of, I guess, see who's actually in the player pool. And then they've asked Taegan to come and she's going to be there. So, and the Welsh team is actually playing this window. So I don't know if she was invited. I think it's quite possible she was, but she's going to do this Canada camp instead. So we'll have to see, does she make some appearances? How does it all pan out? But it was interesting. I wasn't really expecting that after her time with Wales, but why not? Explore those opportunities.
Yeah, why not? And then in terms of other players who have been in action or will be called up again, pretty much the usual suspects, right? Michaela Moore for New Zealand, Jackie Sawicki for the Philippines. How many games has she played for the Philippines at this point? It must be approaching 100, it seems.
Yeah. Well, they actually don't play this window. They played right after we recorded our last, quote unquote, live episode. They had their big matchup against Uzbekistan. The winner qualified for the World Cup next year and they won. So congrats. They're going to the World Cup in 2027. But yeah, they don't have any matches this time. Yeah, New Zealand does. Venezuela does. Michelle Romero is going. Australia does. But Callie Johnson, she hasn't been called up for this series set of matches. So yeah, Romero, Moore, they'll be in action and Taegan Stewart. So it's weird. I just feel this. It was so strange that the window was open and then it closed for, it seems like a week or two and they're back at it. But I guess ultimately it's not affecting the regular season and they're going to be, as you said, very fit.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jerson Berendica, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right, just a few more odds and ends before we wrap up this week's episode. As mentioned, the Futsal National Championships are back in the Calgary area this weekend. And I say Calgary area, Jason, because I always like to emphasize that Seven Chiefs Sportsplex is on Tsuut'ina Nation, just west of city limits on the other side of the Calgary Ring Road. But yeah, great venue, great tournament. This will be the third time in 4 years that this facility has hosted futsal nationals. You and I have always made a point to highlight this tournament and try to get out there at least one of the days. While there won't be Calgary teams competing, both Alberta teams are from Edmonton on the men's and women's side. But there will be a lot of Calgarian players participating, just not for either of those two teams. Interesting.
If you're a fan of Calgary football, your team is Saskatchewan women's team. And we had their coach on a couple weeks ago, Jerson Berendika, and he's the head coach of the University of Saskatchewan women's team. And the Saskatchewan entry is players from the Huskies. And yes, 7 of the 13 or 14 players, basically half the team are from Calgary.
Yeah, we've got Cheyenne Lehman, Danielle Lehman, Daraida Sutherland, Isabel Lachance, Sarah Fisher, Julie Randall, and then Ava Ricken. We're not sure, Jason. I think you put it here that she may be from Medicine Hat, but she did play her club soccer in Calgary.
If you're looking for a rooting interest, I think that might be a good option for you, possibly. I went through the rosters of all the teams to just see what's happening, and I did notice that Brett Levis, who had a long professional career, he's a University of Saskatchewan grad, but he played with the Whitecaps, and he played in the CPL, and he played in the USL. He's going to play for the Saskatchewan team. So there's a guy who went. Last year he was playing in the CPL. This year he's playing in this tournament. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then the other thing is too, I'm kind of disappointed. This is the second year in a row when Edmonton teams have swept the provincial in Alberta. You need to get some Calgary representation in there. That's unfortunate. But anyway, best of luck to all the teams.
And that will take place this Thursday to Sunday. Games will pretty much be running all day on each of those days.
Hey guys, this is Willie Macchio, and you are tuned into the YYC Soccer Podcast.
So just to finish this week off, Jason, let's just mention the odds and ends. Let's start with Bim Peppel. He got that call-up that we were speculating for several episodes in a row, it feels like. He was called up by the Canadian men's national team for their recent friendlies against Iceland and Tunisia. Unfortunately, he didn't see the pitch in either of those friendlies at BMO Place, but awesome to see another Calgarian involved in the men's national team. In the absence of Sam Adekugbe and Scott Kennedy, it seems like our city hasn't really had much representation, I think, since Victor Latouri was probably the last Calgarian called up a few years ago. But I think he's really earned it, right? He's been scoring goal after goal in the third division in England with Plymouth Argyle, and he got his just rewards in a sense.
Definitely. A few other players to talk about. We always like to talk about Calgarians who have found new clubs, and we always like to keep track of what our former guests have been up to. And some new signings. Willie Akyal, he has made a move. He's not in Australia anymore. He has moved to USL League One.
Yeah, he's with a team called the Greenville Triumph. I have to confess, Jason, I don't know much about USL League One. It looks like this is a team based in, where are they based? Are they in Georgia? South Carolina.
South Carolina, yeah. The only thing I can tell you about this team is that they have just built a brand spanking new, beautiful soccer-specific stadium. I saw pictures of it, and I was like, why can't we have nice things like this in Canada?
I just Googled it. GT Park.
Take a look at this thing. Yeah. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, wow.
This is for a third division team in Greenville, South Carolina. Population listed as 70,720 with a total metro population of 408,000. So a place that is substantially smaller than Winnipeg.
Yeah, this is a beaut. 4,300 fixed seats. Total capacity is a little over 6,000. So similar to Atco Field, but with standing areas, European influenced design elements. Opening, it hasn't opened yet. Looks like the first game, the inaugural game there, will be later this season.
I know they were running right up against the beginning of the season to play their first match. But anyway, I guess the whole thing is, with this new stadium, I think they're going to be pretty serious about trying to put a winning team together. So best of luck to Willie Akyal in his new digs.
Another former podcast guest we've had on, Kareem Bashir Bey from Calgary, played for the Lethbridge Pronghorns. He is signed with a new club in Poland's fourth division called MGKS Kujawiak Lumak Kual. I don't think I said that correctly, but yeah, that's where he's playing his trade now.
Another former guest, Noah Herdlicka, who UBC grad, he's been playing in New Zealand for Bay Olympic, part of that trend of Calgarians going down to New Zealand and Australia. He actually scored on the weekend. So congrats to him, first goal in New Zealand.
And then Kaylee Hunter, she has been called up to the Canadian women's national team again for some matches in Brazil, starting just a couple of days from now. Canada's 3 games will be in the city of Cuiabá. They'll be taking on Zambia, South Korea, and Brazil on April 11th, 14th, and 18th.
Hi, this is Miguel Darrocha, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
We want to talk about a local soccer tournament, which is really a pretty big deal tournament. Lots of teams, lots of divisions. We haven't really talked about it much before. It's wrapping up here over the course of this weekend and actually into, I think, middle of next week. Nations Cup.
Yeah, Nations Cup, big deal in the amateur soccer scene in Calgary. Annual indoor tournament taking place from March 29th to April 15th at the Soccer Center. There's 4 divisions this year: men's open, men's masters, men's over 45, and a women's open. Lots of familiar faces and names in this tournament, Jason. It always attracts a high level of players, including guys we've had on the podcast before and guys who have played professionally for Cavalry and other teams.
Yeah, I took a look at the scoring leaders, and on the men's open side, Miguel Darrocha, who Mount Royal player, he's playing for El Salvador. He's got 7 goals so far. So he's leading on the men's side, and on the women's side in the open division, Isabel De Palma. We know her mostly from playing for the Dinos, I would think, but in this tournament, she's playing for Italy, and she's leading with 5 goals.
Yeah, and then other players who we've talked about on this podcast before, Grace Moore and Bryn Mortensen, they both have 3 goals playing for Canada. Other guests that we've had on who are playing in the women's division include Rachel Barlow, Megan Weeb, Ashlyn Phillips, McKenna Walker, and Nikki Charlton, and then Bella Chirico from Mount Royal University.
Yeah, lots of familiar faces for sure. Thank you for listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast. You can have this podcast downloaded to your device as soon as it becomes available by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or other platforms. Check out our website at yycsoccer.com, where you can look through our episode archive and you can find other options to listen, including our YouTube channel. We also have links there that you can buy Scott's book. It's called Here Come the Cavalry, and it's all about Calgary's pro soccer history. You can leave a question or comment in the Contact Us section of our website. You can also interact with us on social media such as Twitter, Instagram, or Blue Sky, where our username is YYC Soccer 403. Thanks for listening.